Hello, and welcome to the Social Retail Ecosystem YouTube video by the Wizard of Paws. Oh my God, I think I'm going blind. This is a sample of the social retail ecosystem. We're going to work our way around the IVRM model, starting at the top with the business strategy and tactics. So we start at the very top, identifying some goals for a social retailing effort. For example, we want to manage the brand image. We want to increase the customer base. We want to increase loyalty. Just because you have more customers don't mean you have loyal customers. You want to increase web traffic, drive sales. That's the ultimate of everything. But in addition, you want to be able to track and understand your competitors in order to be able to react to whatever they're doing. And finally, we want to be able to provide some educational goals, which will drive the customers and increase the loyalty. There are three groupings of social retailing strategies. First is listen, understand, act strategy. The next is attract and influence strategy. And finally, engage and involve. In the listen, understand, and act, you need to listen to what is being said about the retailer. They need to discern the sentiment. Are you happy, angry, neutral for each statement? This data can then be mined to understand the overall sentiment trends and possibly root causes. Once a conversation begins, it is important to act upon those conversations by both responding to them and then making necessary adjustments to the business. In the attract and influence strategy, each effort is focused to attract existing and new customers. You want to try to influence their purchases. Here, traditional marketing and promotions may suffice, but social approaches like voting on promotions, sharing coupons, also come into play. It's a focus on the community members who lead the conversation and act as the content stewards. When you get over to engage and involve, social media users expect two-way conversations. So you let the customers be heard. Invite fans to vote on promotions or take product surveys. Now we move into the business architecture area, where you take those business strategies and identify the value streams and capabilities necessary to make them successful. Here's a sampling of some of the value streams in the IVRM model. We'll look at the direct-to-consumer value stream as it's critical to today's environment. So here's the direct-to-consumer value stream example. Starts with the customer searching the manufacturer's website, the customer picks items, the customer orders the items, and the manufacturer ships the items to the customer. This value stream focuses the strategy on direct consumer operations. So once you've identified the value streams and the capabilities associated with them, we move around and we identify the business processes that are tied directly to those value streams. So in this example, we look at the entire business process model and we've removed everything except that which is tied to social retailing. So you see this is a subset of the overall business process model. So when you drill down, you will drill down into the vendor fulfillment processes, which leads to a direct-to-consumer component. So once we've identified the processes we want, let's look at the business function or the people that are necessary to execute that process. So here's a sample of some of the business functions that would tie into executing the business process. For example, we have the marketing functions, being able to communicate to our customers what we sell. HR functions, of course, selling functions since it's a direct-to-consumer sale. Merchandising functions, as well as customer service. They got the wrong thing, it was broke, etc. So now we have the processes and the people identified that are necessary to support this value stream. Let's move around and start looking at the information in the enterprise architecture area. So here's a sample of some of the interfaces required to support social retailing. These interfaces are between various applications in the retail world. As you can see, there's quite a bit of interaction in a lot of different ways, and all of the little names on here are the interface standards for communicating between those two applications. In the case of retail technology and retail in general, there is an extensive support of the information models necessary to run retail. As you can see through this, these were generated by the Association for Retail Technology Standards starting in 1994 and continued all the way up until today. Today, they're now under the Object Management Group umbrella. But you can see there's sets of blueprints that help you understand. These are like complex requirements docs, an enormous number of design docs, of which I have personally extended it dramatically. Several technical reports for how to interface with other systems like payment systems. Sets of best practices, and those are required because in order for all of these things to be consistent, they have to be best practiced. Interface standards, all of these standards cover almost 80 to 90% of the interfaces in retail. That helps you with your integration between applications. You may not even know who the guy on the other side is. And if you're in the microservices world, you definitely don't know. This is key to making that work. Device interface, these are your printers, scanners, and all of that, and there's a whole lot of those. This is one of the most commonly adopted standards. We have the data models. The data model is actually where this whole thing began way back in 1994. And I've added a bunch of requests for proposals to help people purchase this information very quickly. These are not meant to be turnkey RFPs, but they're meant to be something you use as a model to drill down to create the RFP that is tailored specifically to your needs. Social retailing isn't a monolithic operation. It's actually built up of a bunch of different kinds of social things. For example, user-generated content. This is where the user creates the content that describes the items you're trying to sell. Social shopping, being able to communicate with others about what items you're buying. Analytics, being able to analyze what's happening. Group buying, this is where you and I go together to buy a ton of sand and you get half, I get half. Gamification, this is retailing using games. Check-ins, Facebook is a big one. Facebook is really taken off. Crowdsourcing, this is where multiple people come together to help pay for things for one individual. Social graph analysis, analytics, and then finally targeted advertising, where you send advertising to particular retail segments. So now that you have the processes, you have the people, and you have the information, you need to be able to monitor it. And that's where the business intelligence component comes in. Business intelligence on the social retailing side, these are sets of KPIs that directly relate to social retailing. Of course, social media, of course, customers, what are the customers buying? Environment sustainability, this is part of making sure that you're doing things that the customers want you to do. The order fulfillment, how well are we doing there? Marketing and finance, being able to identify and pay for the various items. Sales and returns, of course, tracking the fundamental part of retail, which is selling things and returning them, and keeping them in inventory. How's your inventory doing? And finally, loyalty. This is one of the key components of the social retailing world. And making sure you're doing loyalty correct is critical. This is the granddaddy of all of that work. This model integrates all of the information that you see in the previous slides into one interactive model. In 2015, the Association for Retail Technology Standards, now under the omg.org world, produced a business process model, which is an interactive model where you can drill down and see the various processes supporting each of these areas. I have taken that and put it on steroids. I have driven it down into a store model, which you saw the scary drawing at the start of this presentation. That's there. And if you drill down on any of these things, there's all sorts of cross links to it. But in addition to that, while building all of this stuff, I came to the realization that retailers fail not because they have a bad strategy, but they have a poor execution of that strategy, which means the people who are executing the things don't know what they're doing is related to the strategy. So I've created this closed loop system to help explain that. Thank you. My, the Wizard of Pod. My name is Richard Halter. Please check out my book, Art for Retail, using technology to turn your consumers into customers and make a profit. It's available on Kindle. Thank you.